So the biggest thing standing between you and truly passive income is typically the asset that you haven't sold yet and the tax of which you would have to pay and of 25 to 50%. And you've worked tirelessly to build your business, your real estate portfolio. Maybe you own a bunch of Bitcoin, but the thought of selling this brings more stress than relief because of the tax. And that's part of the catch 22. I want to get out of it. I know I should get out of it, but if I do, I'm gonna get crushed with tax. And I hate paying tax.
Welcome to Make Yourself at Home. I'm Deana Brummett with Coldwell Banker, and we have Brett Swarts on our podcast this day. Brett is the founder of Capital Gains Tax Solutions and the host of Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast. He is the leading expert in deferred sales trusts, high net worth individuals deferring capital gains taxes on real estate, businesses, and other assets. With years of experience, Brett has in this tax deferral strategies and investment in real estate. He is featured on top financial platforms and has educated countless investors, financial advisors, and business owners on wealth preservation and smart tax planning. Thank you, Brett, so much for joining us on Make Yourself at Home.
Dee, grateful to be here. Thank you for having me.
I so appreciate someone like you because there is so much that most consumers don't know when it comes to tax preparations, also in capital gains taxes. And God, we mentioned 1031s and everybody kind of panics. So I greatly appreciate you bringing this down to everybody's level and kind of giving us some strategies on how we can make our wealth last and potentially even put it into our kids, grandkids, and great-grandkids' hands. Thank you again. When it comes to making this for everyone, how can real estate, not only investors, but people strategically minimize the capital gains taxes when they're selling properties, but how to open that door to how do people make their money in real estate last longer so they don't pay as many taxes?
Okay, great. Yeah, so it all depends on A, what you're selling, B, what your gain is, C, what state in which you reside, and also a thing called depreciation recapture. Those are some key numbers. And you're selling commercial real estate versus a primary home. There's some different things to be involved, but I can just give you some case studies and see if it resonates with anyone who's listening, because that kind of brings it to life. So we helped a seller of an $8+ million property in Palo Alto, California. It was their primary home. At one point, 6 children. Now they're all moved out of the house. And the house has been a place of wealth for the family to grow, but also a place of wealth for the capital to appreciate. And so with the primary home, you're limited in the options for capital gains tax solutions. In fact, the most people know about the 1031 exchange. You can't do that with the primary home, but you can with our strategy. And that's part of why we started our company. And so for this seller and this client, we helped them exit the property, the primary home, and sell to a trust and the trust issued him a promissory note. When you do it in this order and you have the buyer lined up to buy it from the trust, what happens is that he's in a deferral state, and meaning he only pays taxes, he receives payments back. He became the bank, if you will, a creditor to this trust. And so this trust pays back slowly over time. So that was a great outcome for him because he was able to sell, defer the tax, pay off his debt, diversify his wealth, and then get a passive cash flow coming in. So that's one case study. A second case study was a commercial real estate property. It was a $13 million exit for some clients we helped out of San Diego. It was about 4 partners, and they built a car wash. They bought this land for about $500,000. They developed it for about $3.5 million, and they started running this business as a car wash, right? And so the value jumped from about $4 million all in for their cash to about $13 million. And so they sold, and we were able to defer all the capital gains tax, diversify their wealth. And one of the clients was like one of the owners was a small owner. So he just paid his tax. The other three had large, multiple $millions of gain and of equity, right? And so they used this trust to be able to defer their tax. So each of them had their own unique risk tolerance and their own needs for cash flow. But the big thing is be able to diversify their wealth and get passive cash flow coming in and defer the tax. And so those are just two quick case studies. We can go into more, but hopefully that helps everyone who's listening about what's possible out there. And then, by the way, no 1031 required, no charity required, no life insurance required, no gifting required. Very flexible, durable strategy that's been around close to 30 years. And just most real estate folks don't know about it for a number of reasons. But yeah, we can talk more about that too.
Are there timing considerations and exit options for these case studies for people who have invested in real estate?
Yeah, the answer is yes. What are the timing considerations when it comes to these capital gains tax exit plans? The answer is set up prior to closing, or at least have a plan and an option through our best 1031 exit plan, which gives you an option a little bit after closing through an accommodator that we coach and teach and work with to execute on this. So the answer is it all depends. What are you selling? When are you selling it? And have we put a plan in place? And so for the primary home, as an example, we have to set it up prior to closing because there's no 1031 option. For the commercial property, if you're working with us with our best 1031 exit plan, then we can buy us a little bit more time to use our strategy. Or sometimes it's a combination. You do a partial 1031 exchange and a partial installment sale with the trust, with what we do. And so each of these have their place in the timing order.
Okay, so we've talked a little bit about 1031 exchanges and how with primary homes, that's not something that you can do. You've also touched on trusts. Are there tools beyond just the traditional 1031 exchange? You talked about these trusts, so it sounds like that's one of them.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. So we eliminate the need for the 1031 exchange. So our strategy, which is an installment sale with the trust, works with business sales, Bitcoin exits, primary home, commercial real estate, stock, artwork, collectibles, really any asset of any kind, as long as it has at least $1 million net proceeds and $1 million gain. So these are multi-million-dollar exits, right? Big property exits, big gains, multiple millions. Minimum is $1 million and $1 million. So that's the baseline. And then you're looking at having a trust set up that you're selling it to, and it's issuing you a promissory note, and this trust is selling it to the buyer. So that's basically how it works. But yeah, total flexibility, no like-kind replacement requirement. The investments can be made into securities, stocks. It can be made into Bitcoin. If you want to go into Bitcoin, it can be made into other real estate, passive or active other business ventures. In other words, you can diversify insurance, you can diversify. And that's really the important part to understand. Like when you're selling something, a lot of times, a lot of the real estate owners, they own it all in one property or one city or one multifamily or industrial property or retail. And it's all concentrated, right? And then you have these New York, California, New Jersey's, Minnesota, like these places that are very high tax states, but also high regulation. And it makes it very difficult. And so what people are looking for is what's called ROT more than just ROI these days. And ROT is return on time. As what kind of time value are you getting out of these investments? And if you've made your millions, or at least on paper, you've made the millions, but you haven't been able to translate or convert your ROI to ROT, meaning you're going to get a better return on your time to free up your time and your energy and your stress and all those things, then what is the point of the ROI, right? That's the question that we're asking everybody. If they own highly appreciated assets, how are you having more freedom and more impact with your wealth? And what if there is a way to create and build a strategy with a team as part of what we serve as a trustee to help build these and execute something that gives you what's called truly passive income? And we believe truly passive income is to your freedom and impact, as compounding interest is to your money. And this is the big secret here. It's not just about, hey, how do I defer some tax or how do I increase some cash flow? It's what amount of cash flow, if you didn't have to give up any more of your time and it was more than what you're making now. So in other words, you're freeing up time on one end and you're increasing cash flow on the other end. This creates transformational changes for families. And so I'll give you a story for this that really inspired me to continue to fight in what we're in. And it's Warren and Catherine, and they had two young daughters a little bit later in life, and the kids are 10 years old. But Warren is spending a lot of his time back and forth managing this property. And it's a couple $1 million property and it has massive gains. They had done a 1031 into it. producing about $120,000 of NOI, which is great. But at the same time, he's taking up a lot of his time. And so we said, what would be an ideal thing for you guys? And they said, well, I think if we could sell the property and free up time, but also increase cash on cash return. Okay. So we built a trust. And this is the cool part, D. We increased the cash on cash from 120 to about 190. And we gave back more in all of his time. What a great outcome, right? And the biggest thing is trade the 3 T's, the toilets, the trash, the termites, for the 2 T's, his twin daughters, right? He didn't have to choose between the two because he had the big thing, which is more time, right? And so that's really what we're focused on here. How do we do an ROT versus an ROI?
Yeah, you mentioned that truly passive income, and that's what most of us are after. So how do we reach that truly passive income streams? What are the most effective ways to get from, I guess, active investing into your truly passive income streams?
Yep. So the biggest thing standing between you and truly passive income is typically the asset that you haven't sold yet and the tax of which you would have to pay, and of 25 to 50%. And you've worked tirelessly to build your business, your real estate portfolio. Maybe you own a bunch of Bitcoin, but the thought of selling this brings more stress than relief because of the tax. And that's part of the catch 22. I want to get out of it. I know I should get out of it, but if I do, I'm gonna get crushed with tax. And I hate paying tax. It's just, but you want freedom and flexibility. And you also want like finality. Like you want to be finished with that season of life. So instead of feeling stuck on the years of effort and being swallowed up by taxes or bad timing or bad advice, we want to structure and build something that gives total flexibility. So again, this is a trust with an installment sale that the funds hit Charles Schwab in the trust, and they can be invested in whatever you like. And then it just pays you back slowly over time. And the neat part about it is it can go into stuff that's higher cash on cash return. So real estate, at the essence, you want to get a number of things. You want to get cash flow, you want to get appreciation, you want to get depreciation, right? That's part of the beauty of it. But at a certain point, you've got enough appreciation, and maybe your cash flow is still a little bit light. What I'm seeing with a lot of the clients that we serve that are in their 60s, late 50s, and 70s, they're really looking for much more cash flow now. And again, more time. The only real way to do that we've found is by selling the thing that is taking up all your time, right? Or at least your mind, your space of your mind. Like you might have a good property manager for it, but you still have to manage the manager. There's always something that's going on with the property or with the management or with the banks or with the loan or with the whatever, the insurance, or that's doubled or tripled in the last couple of years. And it's just, there's a lot of things. And so let's identify the problem and then say, okay, if we were to sell that plus defer the tax and it equals this sum of money, and we invested that sum of money into these type of investments that are producing this average cash on cash return, most of our stuff is producing 8 to 12% cash on cash return, which is pretty sweet. A lot of the real estate investments that people actively manage are somewhere between 3 and 5 of their ROE, or their return on equity. And their equity is built up, but they don't know what to do. And so that's where we come in, and we build it, we execute it, and then they can just have the cash flow showing up into their bank account every month.
And I think that's what everybody wants. They're used to getting a paycheck every single week, every 2 weeks, once a month, however they got paid. And that's what they expect retirement to be, is just, that to continue. But having the actual ability to do that, or the thought to do that, how does someone identify the right investment vehicle to get them there?
Yeah, good question. I always start with D, for example, for you, I'd say, where have you had success? And you say, Brett, I've had success in real estate. I'm like, great, fantastic. What kind of real estate? Single family or multifamily or industrial or office or medical office or debt or whatever that thing may be, right? And what locations have you done? And so I like to stay within that realm, but I like to go find the best in class operator that's doing this on massive scale, D. And then so that you understand the fundamentals of the investment, because that's just as important as the tax strategies, where and how the funds are going to land. But they're doing it on such a scale with best in class operators and such best team in place. They're doing it 24/7, that basically you're entrusting this group with the stewardship of the capital, and they have great track records, and they have great properties, and they have great systems, and they have great people, and they have great leadership. And you go, wow, okay, these people can make twice as much cash on cash return than I could myself, and they're taking all the risk on. Where do I sign up? It's really that simple. It's like you find the who and stop being the how, right? Now it's okay to be the how. Like a lot of I have clients that are in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, and they're still wanting to be the how. That's fine. Our strategy works for that too. You can be an entrepreneur. You can partner with a trust and go do your own deals. That's one of the best things for the entrepreneur with our strategy. You can still be an entrepreneur, but you're not forced to be that real estate business owner or entrepreneur, right? You're not forced into it, the 1031. That's the key. So that's what I would say. I would start there. And then the second thing I would say is, let's what do the top family offices do? What do they do? How do they invest? What kind of allocations do they have? Can we find a best-in-class financial advisor that can give us high-level allocations? Let's say you had a $10 million portfolio, and they could say, yeah, D, based upon this, here's what the Warren Buffetts, here's what these family offices do, here's what these different, and you're going to trust that advisor. Now, you can also be cautious with that because a lot of real estate owners that I work with, I grew up in the construction business and the multifamily brokerage business at Marcus and Millichap, and real estate is my primary investment. My alternative is that other stuff. Okay. You got to be careful not to make what your primary was completely flip to the other primary, right? Meaning where you made all your money in real estate, be careful just to jump all into the stock market. That can be a wild roller coaster. Okay. But you get some diversification. Can we get your truly passive income built on stuff that you know and trust that's giving you the $20, $30, $40, $50,000 a month? Get that secured. And then once that's secured, can we diversify into some of the biggest companies in the world, right? And build up a stock. Yeah, I like that, right? That's what I found. Now, some clients want to just say, put it in the biggest companies in the world and let's just set it and forget it. So the answer is it really all depends. Where have you made your money? Where is your risk tolerance? What are your cash flow and liquidity needs? Let's build a comprehensive plan that helps to suit you in the best way.
That's one of the things that I've seen over and over. It doesn't matter what you do, but if you find someone who's doing what you want to do and you can shadow, follow, learn from them because they've gone through all the headaches and the pitfalls, and it helps you avoid some of those things. Isn't that what we tell our kids? Learn by my mistakes. Don't recreate my mistakes. So it kind of leads to the same things by shadowing these people or finding somebody who does that. That's one way to avoid some of the common pitfalls, but are there others that you can give us on ways to avoid the pitfalls during your active investing to trying to get to that truly passive income?
Yeah, I think a couple things. Yeah, diversification, that's important. I think getting out of debt when the market's really hot, like when prices are through the roof, like they were a couple of years ago in real estate, like it should be like red flags. Oh, okay, whoa, we should be getting out of debt because this thing is, the values are going so far. We saw all the crazy amounts of buyers and everyone's just this frenzy of just gotta get a house and these prices are crazy. And like you get a sense like, hey, everybody, like this is a seller's market. Yeah. Get out of debt, sell. Now, here's the flip side. Where are we at in the market now? By the way, it takes about 3 years for the real estate market to flip, I found. It's like the 2008 crash took about 3 years for the bottom of the real estate market. We're in that same position right now. What was it, 2022-ish? Now we're at 2025. It feels like we're just about, maybe already 2026, I think is going to be kind of the real bottom. Or maybe we hit it in May 2020. Residential versus commercial, there's a different thing there. I think residential is probably going to come back stronger here in the first quarter, second quarter of 2026. It's different than like commercial. I think commercial is going to have some real struggles with deals that are going to be foreclosed on, multifamily in particular, big apartment complexes. So you got to be able to sense the trends and then just have a tax flow, debt flow, and cash flow mindset. So what does that mean? When the trend is hyper pushing the prices and the things are a frenzy, I want to have a debt flow mindset that says, I get out of debt. Why? Because I'm going to position myself to be able to get debt later when the market is right for a buyer. So when do I want to get into debt? When the market's a buyer's market, I want to leverage at that point, right? Smart debt versus risky debt. So that's a debt flow mindset. The next one is tax flow. You got to have tax flow because if I exit in the high frenzy, I've got to be able to defer the tax. That's part of where we come in. We solve that challenge for you to defer and to fight another day. And the last one, and the most important, is cash flow, right? What is your truly passive income? What is your cash flow? And what is the amount that's durable and consistent? Let's get that settled first. Then the rest of it, I can open up to give more, bless other people more. And I don't have to trade my time for the dollars anymore. So all three are important. You want to be looking at them, and then you want to make sure you're adjusting accordingly, and you have a team of advisors to help you with that.
Yeah. One of the things that we've seen, and whether it be across the board, that, like you said, you've got about 3 years in movement from one to the other, from one piece of the market to the other. Charlotte, which is where I'm out of, is what I tell people. We're usually the last ones into whatever season that we're in, and we're usually the first ones out. Charlotte's kind of like this little bubble, especially in real estate, residential real estate. We've seen a lot of different things with commercial, but in the residential real estate, when 2008 hit, we coasted along. 2009, 2010, that's when we really started to see the bottom. In 2011, 2012, we started to climb out of it. But again, that's when we saw a lot of the Blackstones, a lot of the big hedge funds come in and start buying up property. So we were one of the first ones out, while we still saw other states like California and Arizona and Florida. Those still were, New York was still struggling. So we've seen that flow change. And so when we're looking at it being in the bottom, trying, as you said, trying to make sure that when everybody's buying, we're reducing our debt to get ready for the low that's coming in. Are those the strategies that you teach other individuals to protect and build their wealth, by watching these trends and being able to plan when everybody else is getting out, that they get in?
Yeah, of course. I mean, that is the model that we used before this last interest rate, spike, right? We didn't know it'd go that high, but we were having all the clients we were talking with get out and diversify and put it into money market accounts and put it into real estate debt funds that are consistent and durable and paying higher interest rates. And that's what we executed on. Now we're buying back into equity, right? We've been picking off deals the last year and a half as we've seen opportunities. So that's exactly right. You need a strategy like the one that we could provide to give you the time and the flexibility to make great decisions. I think real estate, we know for the most part, when it's a seller's market and it's a buyer's market, it's like a big Titanic ship, right? And then I had a client who said, you don't want to get in when the sharks are feeding. You want to wait for after they feed and the market starts to stabilize. But you also don't want to wait around too long and be too greedy. So he likes to play the 20-20. Don't be at the very bottom. Wait for it to be 20% recovered, and don't also wait to the very end. Just play that, call it that 20% to 80% in place. That's where you want to be. Yeah. And so I think that's part of it's instinct. Part of it's obviously data. Part of it's just the pure cash flow. I think the big domino is that truly passive income number, though, because if you can get that big truly passive income number knocked over, so it's 20, 30, 40, 50,000 a month, whatever it is for you, 60, 100,000 a month, and you get that in place, and that's just coming in passively, then the rest of it, you can kind of play the game of Monopoly, if you will, with the money, right? Now, you want to be a good steward with the capital and take those different things. But if you don't have that first one, the challenge becomes it puts pressure on you to make different decisions at different times. So my point on this is a little contrarian. Like, I don't do 401ks or Roths or any of that anymore. I do everything I can to get basically to about a $40,000 to $50,000 truly passive income number. That's first, because for me, I think part of it, the freedom, is getting time sooner back rather than waiting till you're 60 or 70 or whatever with those retirement accounts. And those are structured to do. But if I can buy an extra or invest and be disciplined an extra 5 to 10 or 15 years earlier by getting that is way more impactful. And then I could turn around and get into the IRAs and the 401ks and all that. And so that's just my approach. I used to have those, and I've just either cashed out and let them go, or just stopped contributing altogether. And I just focus on a big domino, because once that falls over, the rest of it either becomes irrelevant or it solves itself, is what I found.
Especially if you're able to make your everyday bills and you don't have to worry about where your next paycheck's coming from or where your next meal is coming from, it does loosen up a lot of things and takes a lot of stress off people. You mentioned about the commercial real estate, and that kind of piqued my interest, because this has been something that people have been foreshadowing on. I started in residential real estate in 2008. And I got in at the perfect time when everything was going to in a handbasket. So when everybody's been foreshadowing that commercial real estate was the next one to be foreclosed on, and it's the next one to be foreclosed on. And I've literally watched in almost 20 years, it'll be 18 years in February, that I still keep hearing about all this commercial real estate being foreclosed on, but I'm not hearing or seeing the articles that back that up. Is there a trend that you're seeing that you can share with us that maybe somebody who's considering getting into this might take and look at?
Yeah, you're right. Commercial is very specific to the market, specific to the deal, specific to the debt that's in place. I think it's really knowing the banks, knowing the brokers, and you really got to be in the game, meaning you're closing deals, you're underwriting deals, you own deals. It is difficult if you're not in the game, to have a pulse on this kind of thing, because commercial real estate is hyper local. I don't have except for, are you buying now? If you're not, start buying. Have you making offers now? Are you underwriting properties now? And you do enough underwriting, making offers, closing deals, you're going to see seeing patterns, and you're going to see the anomalies, and you're going to see the opportunities. But if you're not looking at enough deals, it's hard to find the gold in the haystack, if you will. So that's my thought on that. And then you need to have great property management ready to go, because it is a business that you're running when you find the deal. And property management is not easy, especially for a multifamily. But if you can find good property management, have a good down payment, have a good team in place, then you can execute. But generally speaking, it's a good time. It's a great time to be a buyer right now for multifamily properties, for example. Values are down, opportunities are there. That's what I would say. And that's my best thoughts for that.
So we've talked about strategies to help protect generational wealth or help building. Is there a way of combining real estate with smart tax planning that kind of helps that as well? So we're talking about maybe being in the game, buying commercial property, but using that real estate with your tax planning to help build your wealth down. Like you said, you want to gain back those maybe 5 or 10 years instead of waiting for your 401k when you're 65 or 70.
The answer is yes. If you're a real estate professional status and you can do cost seg, bonus depreciation, it's kind of getting a little bit in the weeds here. So, but I'd say step one, can you buy $1 million or $2 or $3 million property? Or can you invest with someone who does? And you go passively. A lot of passively is a great way to start as well. And until you have that, then the rest of it, you can't really do anything with it. But if you have a down payment and you can buy a property and you can Airbnb it out, or you can cost seg and bonus depreciation, you can accelerate that. And that can be some great tax advantages there. But again, make sure you're buying a property that actually makes sense. Make sure you're buying a property that you would buy either way, regardless of the tax situation. And now you own it, and you're owning it for a long term, because the other problem people make with that is they'll buy the property and they'll do all the tax planning, but they're not really in it for the property. They're in it for the tax. And then a year or two, they sell it because they're tired of it. And then they get crushed with the tax because it all recaptures.
Yeah.
So are you really buying it because you're going to want to serve and bless others with real estate housing or Airbnb? You have a passion for providing vacation housing for people, and start there. And then know that I'm doing this for 10 years. You love it. As otherwise, man, it's not for the faint of heart. And then you're going to get crushed on the tax if you just sell it too soon.
That's what you're talking about, is like preparing people for, this is a multi-generational impact. So you're not jumping in and, we're going to sell this in 5 years and make a killing. This is something that you're going to own for 10, 15, it could be 30 years. It could be something that they look at with that.
100%. Yeah, exactly right. But start with your truly passive income number first. Because if you're not there yet, then the rest of it is really secondary. So what is your truly passive income number? 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 a month, whatever. And then move to that to, okay, how do anything above and beyond that, why don't we give and make an impact with the family, what we're doing? And yeah, definitely you can do all three at once, but I think if you have diluted focus, you get diluted results. right? So say, well, how quickly can we get to this truly passive income number? Check, right? How quickly can we now give more to bless others in our family or community in the causes we believe in? Check. And then how quickly can we now really start going for this multi-generational approach?
Who benefits most from deferred sales trust strategies?
Anyone who has a business, Bitcoin, real estate, primary home, has a multi-million dollar gains and are really looking for truly passive income. And they don't have it yet. And then all of a sudden they get it and they're like, oh my gosh, where has this been? I wish I would have done this 5 or 10 years ago. So those are the people that benefit the most. They're really looking for a great ROT.
Are there situations where alternative strategies may be better?
Yeah, if you want to set that basis for a 1031 exchange and you want to own the property until you die and you don't mind, then you get a stepped up basis. That's a good strategy. You love the property, like you want to stay in the real estate game. You're like, oh, I want to buy that property. You love it. And so I'm going to 1031. Perfect. Like it's a 1031 is less expensive, right? There's no trustee involved like us. We have recurring fees and stuff. So that's something that people have to consider. We're about 1.5% to 2% on the management of the capital, right? That's how we make our money per year. And about a one-time fee to the legal fee, about 1.5% to set it up. So that's part. So you have to keep that in mind. That's why we want multiple $1 million exits, bigger tax bills, bigger things to make sure the value is there for everybody. But yeah, if you have a great deal lined up, 1031 is less expensive and you want to buy it. But the reality is there's 10,000 baby boomers turning 65 every day, D. There's about 80 million in the US alone. 80 million in the US alone, and they represent about $124 trillion that's transferred in the next 5 to 15 years. And again, most of them made their millions. So they don't necessarily need to make more millions. But they desire more time and more cash flow to make a difference right now, make an impact right now, right? Where I can invest in companies that are building multifamily housing and ending the housing crisis. I can invest in the startup companies to create more jobs. I can invest into the stock market to diversify their wealth. Like they can do all of these things if they make a decision to sell versus just holding on to it. And again, if they want to hold on to it and they love it, then do it. But if it can unlock all of these other cool things, why not sell and exit?
How should investors think about their taxes as part of their overall wealth strategy?
They should think about how they're going to get truly passive income. It all comes back to that. And then until you get that, the rest of it is either not as important or irrelevant. And I think too many people focus on too many other little things that like don't move the needle. And it's like 401k and Roth 401k and HSA and my kids this and blah, blah for their college. And I'm just like, where's your truly passive income number? And if you get that, how much more that I think of it just like that. And then that knocks over, man, all of that other stuff takes care of itself. So that's my approach. I just keep it really simple. And I say, taxes, how can you get a truly passive income number? Then the rest of it to work on that.
All right. So let me ask you one other question. So you're talking about a truly passive income number. What does it take for you to be able to not have to worry about anything? Because most people think about, okay, my budget is, how do I pay my bills every single month? But it's not just because everybody's been investing and putting money into this stock market or real estate, or they put money in all these different places. But they literally sit down with their budget and go, okay, it takes us $6,000 to be able to live every single month. Or it takes us $26,000, or like you said, $20,000, $30,000, $50,000. How much does it take for you to live? Is that, when you're talking about truly passive income, should people be looking at it as their daily budget or their monthly budget or their yearly budget? Should they be looking at it like that, of what covers your basic needs?
Yeah, 100%. That's step one, right? What are your basic needs? And then number two, like what is your lifestyle and your kind of the things that you enjoy doing, right? And you can enjoy doing with your family. And you really got to have a stewardship mindset that everything we've been given has been given for our opportunity to steward it for a short period of time. And that includes saving, investing, giving, and spending. So it's a healthy mix for those things. And I think each of us have to come to a grips of what is that number for us, for our lifestyle number. And at a certain point, you might need to draw a line in the sand and be like, okay, this is the number for our family during this season. And we're gonna stick to that, and then we're gonna see how do we make an impact with the excess, right? And for me as a Christian, I practice 10% tithe plus giving above and beyond that offering, and then above and beyond that, it's how do I listen and look for opportunities to help the most vulnerable people in this world. Our company, Capital Gains Tax Solutions, exists to unlock capital gains to multiply freedom and impact. And it starts with their family, the freedom of time, impact with the family. Then it really should move in a flow. The flow of capital should move to, hopefully you want to give and make a blessing to where God's called you to help others. And so that is the gift of stewardship. I like the way that Jim Baker says it. He's becoming like a mentor of mine. You want to finance your life mission with passive income. So what is the good work you've been called to do for you, right? What do you feel God's called you to do? What's your life mission? What breaks your heart? How can you finance your life mission with passive income? And by that, it doesn't necessarily mean just giving to that. Oh, hopefully it does. It can mean literally giving of yourself in service to that cause or to that thing, right? And so how do I finance my life mission with passive income? Is it going to grow faster than inflation? The difference between financial debt and financial leverage, right? Smart debt versus dumb debt. And turn money into soldiers to accomplish God's kingdom purposes, right? How can you turn and look at money as that tool that goes and accomplishes the things that can change the world? And so these are some of the thoughts to think about. Learn how to be a steward. Everything in the kingdom, God gives us an opportunity to steward and be a part of what he's doing as a Christian. And if you're not a Christian or a believer, then it's what are the things that you feel can make a huge impact and make a legacy difference for your family and for those that in your community. So that's the difference versus just what do I get my passive number and then I can sit on the beach and just relax. Okay. Sure. That lasts about 2 or 3 weeks. And then let's get to work. Yeah. Another mentor of mine says, too many of us retire and we're on this endless journey in an RV to discover the most amazing frozen yogurt. And he's coached over 25,000 hours, right? And there's only so many frozen yogurts and saying this tongue in cheek, you should enjoy, you should have a retirement, you should enjoy this. But what if it's different for you? What if it could be different, that you have a purpose and a meaning beyond just your immediate family and yourself? But I do think it still starts with really passive income for yourself and your family. So I want to make sure you hear what I'm saying, but hopefully it goes way beyond that.
All right. So I think everybody has the dream of being Scrooge McDuck and diving into their mountain of gold coins. But how many times are you going to do that? For real. And everybody, I won't ever forget, everybody wants to leave an impact. We may not all have our names in the history books, but like one of my teachers in high school says, when you think you're making a difference in this world, put your fist in a pail of water and take it back out. What kind of dent did you make? It basically tells you how fleeting your life is. So how do you make your life matter, not only just to your family, but to your community and the people around you? The love of money is the root of all evil. And that's what the Bible tells us. Okay. It's not that money is the root of all evil, but it really does make a difference when your battery dies in your car. And I had one of my other podcasters tell me this. It's like your battery dies in your car. And that is something that can simply be fixed with a little bit of money. It's a couple $100, but the world doesn't fall apart. But there are people where it can't make the meal at the end of the week, or somebody doesn't have enough medicine. So how do you make sure that your life is making an impact on those folks, but also that you're not one of those folks? How do you make sure that you're taking care of yourself and the people around you, including your community, including the greater scale? So shifting when you're planning, shifting from being reactive to being proactive, and making sure that you have the ability that when Bitcoin shows up and you go, really, I'm going to invest in money that doesn't exist. But those that saw it and were able to take advantage have reaped huge rewards. Or how many of us don't want to go back and invest in Amazon or Apple or one of those others that have gotten huge over the years? It is being able to look beyond yourself.
100%. Yeah. That's a great way to wrap up the show and close it. I think that's amazing. Great I couldn't agree with you more, Dee.
Thank you so much, Brett, for joining me. We have all of Brett's socials. They'll be in the comment section. That way, if you guys want to hook up with Brett, as you can tell, the man knows what he's talking about and how to get in touch with him so you can have the solutions for your family and hopefully for your community. Thank you again for joining us with Make Yourself at Home. I greatly appreciate your time.
Bye, everybody. Yeah, thanks, Steve, for having me.
Thank you. Thanks for joining me on Make Yourself at Home. I hope you found insights and inspiration to help you navigate your real estate journey with confidence. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, and share this show with your friends because everyone deserves to feel at home. Until next time, stay informed, stay empowered, and keep making moves that matter.